that today. Y'all are supposed to be the example. Executive director
We're talking about food.
and counselor.
Yeah, we're discussing feeding everybody.
All right, so cultural competency. All right, so cultural competence is acknowledging that people from other groups don't have the same beliefs, practices, perspectives, interpretations, or life experiences. Okay? Everybody in this room, probably. We're all the same skin color. We're probably all, I guess, I don't know, from the South relatively, except for minus maybe one Northerner in here. I don't know. I'm just kidding.
That would be me.
You live in North. I know you lived in North Carolina, I'm speaking at you. So, just in the same room, we all have different experiences, beliefs, practices, perspectives on things, interpretations. So imagine somebody that's not even born here, that's only lived here in the United States for 2 years. It's a different skin color than you, a different language than you, a different religion than you. If us in the same room, that you would assume we're all alike, right? Because we all look kind of the same. We're all kind of from the same place. We're all born here, all pretty much lived here. Imagine somebody that's not like that, how much worse, I guess, it could be. So don't make any assumptions, just based on how someone looks or where they're from or the way they talk, that they're just like you, because they're probably not. Because even people that look just like you, probably not the same. It says everybody has some view that's shaped by their personal interpretation. Says be respectful and open towards somebody, even if they're different. Just because they're different than you. Some of us in here are Alabama fans, and some of us in here are Auburn fans, and some people in here are fans of whatever, somebody else. So
Florida State.
I can respect you even though you're an Auburn fan, even though I'm an Alabama fan. We will only talk about you behind your back, not to your face. So just be respectful. We don't all have to be the same, to be respectful and open. A culture really is more about a community or a society. We have a culture sort of in this house, in a rehab facility. That's a community of people. That you've heard of the drug culture, all right? If you grow up in that drug culture, that implies a certain set of beliefs and experiences and perspectives on things. Structures how people view the world. It involves a particular set of beliefs, norms, and values concerning relationships and how people conduct their lives and organize their environments. It says it's not a definable entity to which people belong or don't belong. So a culture, like I said, you're not checking the box for what your culture is. Have you ever been to a doctor's office and had to select that? No. But you probably had to select a box on race or ethnicity, right? But you've never seen one for culture, okay? It says within a nation, race, or community, people can belong to multiple cultural groups, each with its own set of norms or values. Race describes more physical characteristics that people have in common. Black, white, you know what I mean? It's how you look. Ethnicity is more about your social identity and mutual sense of belonging that defines a group of people through common historical or family origin. Beliefs, standards of behavior. To be culturally competent, you need to convey, number one, respect. Like I said, I'm still going to respect you even if you're wearing Auburn today. I'm still going to respect you. It says acknowledge, explore, and validate their worldview. I had an intern one time. This is always the example that I use. He was a Church of Christ preacher. Well, he had a client that was, what were they?
Mormon.
Something that's kind of the opposite of Church of Christ. They didn't. I forgot now what it was, but he was like, "Oh my God, what was it?" Explore it. I'm not familiar with that. Tell me more about it. I don't practice that. Tell me more about it. And if I ever say anything that infringes upon that, make sure you let me know, because it won't be intentional. You're gonna have to teach me the ways of that so that I can give you sound good advice. So learn about it. Try to communicate in their preferred language if possible. We try to have to accommodate some of that. Try to just not be judgmental about it. Avoid stereotyping. Ask the client what's important to them. All right, well, if you're, I wish I could think now what it was. Tell me what's most important to you. Don't assume that the same thing that you think's important is going to be the same thing they think's important. Be sensitive. Ask about their experience with racism, stereotyping, and discrimination. Have you had to put up with a lot of that? How can I help you not put up with a lot of that? Explore what their identity means to them. Tailor treatment to their cultural needs. You have to just be aware, mindful of that stuff. Have a commitment to equality. Address racism or bias as it occurs. Now, we have to deal with that sometimes. We have some people will make comments or do this or that and the other, and I've got several examples rolling around in my head, but confronting that and making sure clients are not doing that to each other. And again, it's not so much y'all that I'm worried about, but y'all are here to role model behavior for our other clients as well. Identifying what might be a barrier to them getting the most out of treatment. Finding strategies to help, match their unmet needs to a way that we can help them meet them. Being open, recognizing the value of their beliefs to them. If you don't know, seek some advice or consultation from somebody that does. Understanding that people from other groups sometimes do things differently, and maybe that their way is better than yours. Being willing to consider that maybe you need to learn a different way of doing things, and that what they have to teach you might be helpful. Having some humility, knowing that trust is earned through competent behavior. Acknowledging the limits of your competency and referring them if necessary. If you speak a language and I can't speak it and can't find anybody to speak it for you, then I don't need to be seeing you. I can't help you. We're never going to get on the same page. Seeking consultation to expand cultural knowledge. Understanding ourselves and how we are influenced better. Being sensitive to the power differential between y'all and them. Flexibility, using a variety of responses, approaches, or styles to meet their needs, and different learning styles.
What if they're atheists? How do you do that? If they don't believe in God?
In terms of like the 12-step stuff?
Yeah.
Well, God in AA stands for good, orderly direction. So I don't care whatever their belief is that would
But
provide
do you
them
try
that.
to still work with them?
Yeah.
Okay.
A higher power can be anything they choose,
Well, I mean, I know that, but I'm just saying.
And if you've got a real hang up and just can't do it, if you
Yeah.
can't work with that person without being biased, preachy, judgy, if you just can't do it, then you're going to have to refer them out or find somebody else to deal with them instead of you.
Yeah,
if
we
you
haven't
can't
had
do it.
none that I know of, but I was just asking in case of future.
Yeah. I mean, it don't matter.
You'll get them come through here.
Well, we've had them through here, haven't we?
Yeah,
Mhm.
probably, and may not had them and just you've not realized it or whatever. Because it's not like you're conducting a church service around here.
Right.
But there's gonna be all kinds of people that just believe different things. Even people that are Christians, depending on which church you go to, still all have different beliefs, and you know what I mean. You just all those things that I just read, finding out what's important to them, what do you believe in, what provides you with good orderly direction. Okay, so you don't want to do the 12 steps. And there's probably a way around that. You just research it and find it. I'm sure there's I don't want to say a 12 steps for atheists, but you know what I mean.
There's a chapter in the big book on atheists,
Yeah, and it's what
how to deal with it.
right. So, where there's a will, there's a way, and that's where the openness, the being willing to educate yourself and roll with it and learn something new, where all of that comes into play. You're not expected to be an expert on whatever their beliefs are.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah, you don't have to be an expert on that. They're the expert on that.
Okay.
And let them teach you. What you want to avoid is addressing people informally until you know each other. Don't assume familiarity. Don't use, counseling, like big words to people you know that they can't understand them. Avoid stereotyping or preconceived ideas. Don't use a gesture and assume the other person knows what it means. They may find it very, very offensive. To just knowing who you're messing and joking around with. Ignoring the relevance of their cultural identity, neglecting their history and background, and assuming that a client is being difficult, because it may not be that they're being difficult. It may just be that they're refusing to comply with you because they're not believing in what you're asking them to do. If a client doesn't want to work the 12 steps, we could easily say, well, they're just being defiant and difficult. They don't want to work the program. Well, maybe it's inconsistent with their beliefs and values, and they don't know about the chapter in the Big Book on agnostics. So before we assume, let's find out that there's not a cultural or belief reason why they're not cooperating with what we're wanting them to do. Y'all have questions about cultural